Brazil with very bad internet connection. We tried to see if he could get involved, but that was a bit of a no-go. He's left us his little predictions so we can bring his thoughts to the conversation, but we also want to hear what your thoughts are in this conversation, which is to leave a comment below. If you're watching this on YouTube, let us know your thoughts on the matches we're going to be talking about and who you think is going to be winning and losing. If you're listening to us through some other medium as well, then your thoughts in maybe in Discord or any other forum, you can get in touch with us, social media, anything along those lines. And just follow it along. I'll save the plugs till the end of the episode, so I just want to dive straight into the show because we have 10 matches to talk about, which are 8 matches on the main Wrestledream card and then 2 on the Saturday Tailgate Brawl. But before we actually do get started on that, are there any matches that you anticipate being added to the Wrestledream card?
Yeah, I think we're looking at Kenny Omega versus Josh Alexander in a singles match. And I think that's the way to go because not only because I think they were scheduled for something before Kota Ibushi got injured, unfortunately, but I think that if you have Omega and he's healthy, you probably want to try to squeeze a pay-per-view match out of him.
I mean, I certainly wouldn't turn down a additional Kenny Omega match on pay-per-view. I think that it is quite interesting that the route would be Josh Alexander, considering the fact that he was recently taken out by both Cole Fletcher about over a month ago, and then Andrade a couple of weeks ago in his AEW return. But it'd be Josh Alexander is the one that you would give the nod to. Obviously, we know that it won't be Cole Fletcher because of a match that he's currently booked for on the card. But as far as I know, Andrade is available.
Admittedly, I did forget Andrade because I was so focused on the angle that occurred.
To be fair, it seemed that they forgot about him as well because he is now just in the background for the Don Callis family.
Which is funny because he only just got there.
Yeah, AEW does have a kind of a recurring habit of like debuting guys to this big fanfare and then just slotting them into the miasma a little bit, which I think they're doing to improve upon. But yeah, they seem to have felt that way with Andrade a little bit. But yeah, as I say, a match between Omega and Alexander would be really good, and it would give Alexander a chance to a bit of spotlight as well in a singles match because I don't think he's been like lost in the shuffle, but he is kind of just a member of the faction as opposed to he's not Fletcher, he's not Kestra, he's not Calder, he's a level below that.
Yeah, I think this match should happen in Canada just because I think Alexander was really pushing hard for it. But Alexander was also there when Omega got taken out before the Toronto show. So I think you could get away with a singles match like that. I think you could also get away with doing Omega and maybe partnering him up with someone else against Andrade, Alexander. I know Mark Davis is back. Maybe if you can find 2 partners for Omega, I would suggest Jurassic Express, but it looks like they're doing that on TV. So we'll see what happens.
Also Jurassic Express have a match Wrestledream as well.
That's right, they also have the match against the Bucks.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll talk about those matches when we get on to the main card stuff. But let's start with Saturday's Tailgate Brawl, which they're no longer being considered obviously 0 hours. This is a TV show that will take place on TNT. They're almost treating it like a pseudo episode of Collision now. So we currently have 2 matches scheduled for that. I presume that when the actual show does take place, it'll probably be more likely built up to 4 matches potentially. These are probably the 2 main matches that will take place on the show. They'll probably sandwich any other things that happen. But we have Holly Cameron and Willow Nightingale taking on the Top Gods of Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford. Fun name to attach themselves to FTR now. Top Guys now they're Top Gods, so that's good.
I do like that.
So this isn't a match. This isn't a tournament match for the women's tag titles. This is just these 2 are feuding now. Willow Nightingale's feuding with FTR alongside Jet Speed, which we'll get to in the other match. But Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford have aligned themselves with FTR, and Holly Cameron is basically just everybody's friend, so she's hopped into battle on this occasion. So I think that you probably go with Top Gods as the winner of this one. Just to be fair, like you could have either way, but I don't feel like the Top Gods are going to be a tag team in the tournament whenever the tournament gets started. I don't think they're going to go with Willow and Holly as a tag team. I think they'll have other options available for both of them. So I think that you give the win to the more established and the tag team that will be more important going forward.
I don't love the idea that they're just sticking Harley with Willow. It seems like Harley teaming with everybody is a very strange move to me. At least because I think Willow is established enough that she should be, if she's going to be in this tournament, I think it should be with an established partner. I know obviously they went a different direction with Stat, but it's just weird to me, and I would give it to Top Gods just because they're an established duo.
And the other match is the other half of the kind of Top Gods, Top Guys faction with Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood facing Jet Speed. It's a good match. It seems like it might just be a good match to put on. We haven't really seen these 2 teams go one-on-one too much as of yet. We've seen them in like other multi-man iterations. But it's one of the best tag teams in modern history, FTR against a really up-and-coming team that's really got some good chemistry going together in the months they've been together. So I think there's really a wrong option with this one. You could try and shock people a little bit with the Jet Speed victory because I think most people are expecting FTR to win because they still have unfinished business with Copeland and Page at some point. They're probably the more ready-made to take the tag titles off Rodido if they decide to make that move in the future, or Rodido even tag team champions after Wrestledream. But I think I would go Jet Speed just because I feel like it's a good win over an established team. FTR don't need to win every single match.
I'd probably go with Jet Speed as well. As probably the lone person who feels like it was odd the way the things ended for Cope and Christian. Not because of how it ended with them, but because I understand Cope went away to look after his family or in real life film. Why isn't Christian on TV? Why has he just all but disappeared for the last month? And I kind of, maybe you'll agree with me here, I'm kind of at the point now where they've moved far enough away that I'm not sure I want to see it again. Like I kind of feel like, okay, we got the one and done with Edge and Christian and FDR. But maybe that's just me feeling that way in particular.
I mean, I'd be fine if they are moving on because I wasn't a huge fan of their match at All Out anyway. And I think that, I just think the way they did it with like taking out Beth means that they can't just draw a line under it. It doesn't seem like a really weird way of approaching it. It's like, okay, I took out your wife and now you're not coming back for revenge at any point. You're just going to come back and wrestle David Guevara or something. Like, I think you have to do some kind of follow-up based on that, some sort of hardcore street fight-y, dog collar match type deal. But yeah, I guess the reason the question's off TV is just because Nick Wayne is injured and that's the match they want to do. They want to build up to, and so they have to wait until Wayne is.
An IQ of 85 to 115 is considered average in the US. An IQ of 150.
So they have to wait until Wayne is healthy enough to compete again.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
But yeah, I'd say that like it would be better if he was doing something, or at least like they were building up to that in the meantime. But right now it seems that they're on a bit of a pause with Cope and Cage, which is it's fine if it gets some younger guys and girls on TV. Then I think that's totally fine. But yeah, but now we move on to the main card itself, and let's start with the trios match: the Hurt Syndicate versus the Demand, a rematch from recent episode of Dynamite, which is also a rematch from the All Out. So I don't think that I would have gone in the direction of just doing another trios match after the street fight. I understand that you need some kind of rubber match because like it's 1-on-1 based on the Demand winning it All Out and Syndicate winning the street fight, but just another trios match where you kind of established that MVP can fight and do the brawling stuff, that when it comes to an actual match dynamics, he can't live up to his partners. You already told that story, so going back to that match, you're just going to like retcon that original thing and just have the Syndicate win again. So I don't know. Do you think that there's some sort of change or some sort of thing that's going to happen to this match to mean it's just not another trios match?
I think the right thing to do, regardless of who the new member is or who the replacement is, the right thing to do is have MVP come out on Dynamite or Collision, since it's the 3-hour show on Wednesday, to say, hey, I told you I wasn't wrestling again. And here's the replacement, and it's whomever you wish to fill that spot with. But I think if he just wrestles again, then what was the point of the street fight? You should have the street fight here.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I would be thinking as well. So I think that there's definitely a good chance that they have some person ready to come in to fill NDP's spot in this match. I hope that it's not based on just reports that Cedric Alexander signed a short-term contract with TNA, that it means he's coming in as well, because it's fine having like these like veteran guys coming in, but surely you should utilize the remaining years of the Syndicate to bring in fresh blood and use their standing and stature to elevate someone who'll be in your company for the next like 5-10 years, as opposed to someone who would just be there for the short-term pop of all it's really be there for the no longer really than the same amount of time as the other guys in the promotion. I don't know who that necessarily would be, because I'm not as well versed in who's making waves in the independent circuit or who's like coming through that's kind of like a young guy, or even someone that's currently on the AEW roster that would make sense for that extra role. But yeah, I hope that that's the direction they go in, as opposed to just doing another trios match, which like either the Demand wins or the Syndicate wins and just retcons the initial win from the Demand in the first place. So I think either way, I'm going with the Syndicate winning, because my mindset is they're debuting a new member and they need to have that new member get the victory, or they're not debuting a new member and they're just going to retcon the entire thing for the first one. So that's the two routes, I think, and either way that means Syndicate wins. So
I gratefully want the former, because like I don't want them to just retcon things. I think that would be a bad habit to start falling into. But also, no matter what happens here, I think this match should factor into the trios championships and trying to move those belts away from the Ops.
It seems there's a good chance they might be moving them. Well, I say moving them away from the Ops, or the good chance they are defending the titles on Wednesday's Dynamite against LFOA. So there is potential, considering especially what Samoa Joe is doing on this show, that it could be the time to move the trios titles off of them. But yeah, I agree that this should have some implications at the very least regarding the trios titles and trying to get them back into a more regular rotation again. We'll move on to another one of these the rarest sights on an AEW card, a women's singles match with no championship or gimmick attached to it. So it's Jake Hager versus Thekla. Rob, do you know the last women's singles match which had no gimmick attached to it on an AEW pay-per-view?
I cannot say I do.
It was Britt Baker versus Soraya from, I believe that was
Full Gear 2023?
2022, I think, actually.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so this is a first in about 3 years for AEW.
First of all, that's a problem across the board in professional wrestling. We need to get comfortable with women's grudge matches.
Absolutely,
it's okay to just have women wrestle women without a title being online.
Yeah, so it's good that this match is taking place. Obviously, these two will be prominent figures in the upcoming women's Blood and Guts match, so it makes sense that these two would be going against each other. I mean, Tekla made her debut attacking and taking out Jamie Hayter for a while when she was dealing with injuries and visa issues, I believe. So it makes sense we're finally getting around to that match when Tekla's spent most of the time on the roster beating the shit out of Queen Amanata. She finally gets the match with the first person she started the feud with. So this should be a lot of fun because these two are really good. I think it'll be very physical because Tekla has no regard for her own safety and Jamie Hayter hits hard. It's kind of in the name. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how they work together, or how they the chemistry between them. And I think that they'll go with Tekla getting the victory, because I think it just makes more sense for the heels to get the victory leading into Blood and Guts, because not necessarily the babyface is going to win Blood and Guts, even though that's what's happened most of the time. It's just you want to build up more sympathy or more heat for the heels leading into a match of that magnitude.
So what do you want? Like, how would you like to see the build to Blood and Guts go from here? It's been pretty, I'm not gonna say it's been weak, but it's a weird slow burn, which is strange, because sometimes it's just like, hey, we're doing Blood and Guts and that's happening in 2 weeks, and that's that. You know?
I think, yeah, I agree. I think that it's the main issue that there is so far with the Blood and Guts thing. I think you need to get this pay out of the way, and that's probably part of the reason. But the main issue is the fact that we don't know who the teams are. Like, it's happening in a couple weeks' time, and we don't know who's the five for the heels and who's the five for the babyfaces, or if they're even doing 5 versus 5 or whatever configuration they're going with. Like, the presumption is that on one side you have the Triangle of Madness and Top Gods, and that's their 5, and then on the other side you have some configuration of Jamie Hayter, Willow Nightingale, Statlander, Tony Storm, Harley Cameron, Queen Aminata. There's multiple different choices you can have for the babyface side, depending on what direction they're planning on going with. But I think that you need to settle that first of all. But then there's also a case like, well, are they going to throw Amina Shirakawa or Mercedes Moné? She wants to do Blood and Guts, and if she wants to do Blood and Guts, she'll probably get to do Blood and Guts, because you just
I think
you just drop her forward. Yeah,
I think if she wants to do Blood and Guts, she would have made it clear that she wants to be front and center in the build up to Blood and Guts.
Yeah. So yes, I think we need confirmation of what the teams are first of all, and then I would like to see. I mean, they've historically done the coin toss thing rather than having like a one of those matches to help determine which team would start it. I think it's better to do it as a coin toss because it's just more old school, and you just describe it like the heels have some sort of rigged coin and then they always win in that regard. But I think that I think you just need to start like amping up the intensity of the feud between these ones. Like, I was not a fan of the tailgate brawl of All Out with the that street fight they did, which I thought was too cartoony and too childish in the build up to Blood and Guts. I know they use things like the staple gun stuff, but I thought that it was a bit too hokey rather than showing actual like violence between them. I think you need to now ratchet up. I mean, I would even say that you should try and get blood in this match if you can.
I agree. I can see there being a benefit to that.
But how do you see the match going?
I would, just because I think you go with like the heels winning before the big one. I put Tekla over here. Even like it's hard because Hater needs some big wins too, so maybe you don't go with Tekla, but I would, and then I would try to by the end of the show establish who the fuck's in the Blood Guts.
Oh yeah, definitely. I would personally go with Tekla as well because I think that there's more wiggle room for Jamie Hayter to be in the tag tournament than Tekla, because Tekla obviously she's part of a trio and the other two are the tag team of the trio. So Tekla, I think Tekla's going. We'll talk about this in a while. I think Tekla's the next one up for the women's title. So
Like to win it or to challenge.
for the challenge, I don't know if she'll win it or not. I think there's a good chance, but like I think she'll at least be the next challenger for the title. So whereas you can pair Jamie Hayter up with Alex Windsor, I think, and make that a tag team.
That's right. Even though they do have Windsor pretty steady on ROH, but I'd like to see her back up on the main show.
We'll just pivot that over into the other women's match on the show, which is Chris Statlander defending the title against timeless Toni Storm. So it's a rematch after Toni Storm lost it in the Fatal 4-Way, and she has asked for a one-on-one rematch. And they're doing the kind of respectful, but we just every opportunity we get, we're going to beat the shit out of each other, but we respect each other, and we're kind of into each other as well. But we kind of just subtext into that. But then again, Toni Storm is into most women that she.
Yeah,
meets with,
so everybody she wrestles now.
Yeah,
Like,
well, she's a bisexual icon, and
really
we stand for it. Yeah,
she's leaning into it, and I know everybody loves it. I think this is an easy stat victory. Like she needs the strong win to establish that she's champion now, and I'm more interested to see where Toni Storm goes from here.
Yeah, I think that's the most interesting component going into this match is that it seems pretty nailed on that Chris Statlander wins, but it all depends on what the kind of future holds for Toni, because I think that there is not a minuscule possibility that Toni turns heel in this match and uses that to cheat to win the title back. And I wouldn't go that route because I think it's just too soon to do that. I think if Statlander was a more established champion beforehand, or this was like her second reign, then you could do something like that and build up. It wouldn't be like Toni Storm would be champion for another 6 to 8 months, where she would just be champion for another couple of months, and then you set Statlander on its way again, just as a means of turning Toni heel and changing the dynamic. But I think because it's Statlander's first reign, and also I think that they're not ready to turn Toni heel, and I don't think you should because she is just so popular and over right now. I don't think the act is stale enough yet that you need to necessitate a heel turn. That you have Statlander win, go strong, Toni Storm shakes a hand or eats her out or something to celebrate, and then you build Statlander up for her next opponent, or maybe both of them are on the same side of the babyface team for Blood and Guts. But yeah, I think that right now you should be concentrating on building up Stat and make her a strong champion.
I agree.
Sorry, I just realised I should be pointing out some of Tony's predictions. So Tony has said that he predicts her Syndicate over the command. He predicts Tekla over Hayter. He also says Stat over Storm. So he's following along our wavelength as well. So let's go on to another non-title match, tag team match. Jurassic Express versus the Young Bucks in a $500,000 cash prize match. So the Bucks' gimmick now is that they only fight for money, and for some reason Tony Khan always puts in matches that involve money. But they lost the money on the casino, or Nick Jackson lost money in the casino that they won recently, and so they're back to being the broke Bucks who don't get an entrance and don't have a pyro and get their name plates wrong and all that stuff. And they're taking on the newly reunited team of Jurassic Express. Should be a really fun match. These are two great teams, and Express have been away so long. I know they had the squash match recently, but we haven't seen them have a full-blown match yet with a team of the Young Bucks caliber. So we know how good they used to be, and we know how good they can be still individually. So I think that this should be an excellent match. And the Bucks have been having loads of kind of sleeper great tag team matches this year. So I don't expect this to be any different. And you should probably give Jurassic Express the victory because they're back, and everyone wants to sing the entrance theme, and so they want to sing it when they get the victory as well.
I don't think they need the money. That's the issue with it is, okay, if you're gonna do the money, it's Young Bucks up. But I also think they're doing a weird story where it seems like Nick has either a spending problem or a gambling addiction, and he's gonna constantly be the one to blow the money. But I think they're gonna win so they can have money again.
See, I think that it's funny with like they're the ones that need the money. They're the ones that the money is attached to. I agree, but they need the money, but that's why they can never get the money. Or like now they've had the taste of money, and we've had the few little weeks where they were back to being like rich Bucks again, and then they lost it all, and now they're going to be even more desperate to try and claw it back. So I think that now is the time to like, okay, now no more money, or you're not getting it back now. I envision a scenario. You're right, Jurassic Express don't need the money. So what I think they're going to do is they'll have the money, or they'll have like an amount of money in a bag, and they'll start throwing out to the crowd. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish that was at the show that I was at. Just walk away with some free money. Yeah. I think this should be a very good match. The Bucks are doing an interesting thing right now where they're not a major part of the story and they're kind of just resetting, but they're also having great wrestling matches.
Yeah, they've had so many great tag matches already this year. Like obviously Strickland and Ospreay immediately comes to mind as well, and they're doing stuff early with like the back end of the Elite Takeover storyline. I think that they just have they're just having a fun time having like matches not being like a real focal point of the show. But yeah, I don't think you need to give Jurassic Express the victory because you need to start hitting them back up if you have aspirations of making them tag champions in the future again. And just because it feels like you're kind of legs from under them if their first big match back they lose, even if it is to a team as established as the Bucks.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the other tag match that's going to be on the show, which is for the AEW World Tag Team Championships, which is Tag Team Champions Bandido, which includes Bandido, the Ring of Honor World Champion, versus Don Callis Kazuchika Okada, the AEW Unified Champion, so also the Continental and International Champion, and the new IWGP World Champion, Konosuke Takeshita.
The Ring of Honor Champion is also in that.
Yeah, so yeah, Bandido, yeah, the Ring of Honor Champion. So
yeah, the match is filled with people holding championship belts.
It's like one Mercedes Moné.
Yeah, actually, it's amazing how many people in AEW are just holding titles.
Yeah.
This should be a really good match. I understand the entire point of the match is the tension between Okada and Takeshita. I'd also kind of like to see them win, just because like they're Okada and Takeshita, and that would be fun to watch. But obviously, they're gonna have some miscommunication that'll lead to a Brodito victory, which will eventually lead to Takeshita Okada maybe for the IWGP title. Maybe this is where we're throwing belts into a pot for the C2. Or, I don't know.
Yeah, so I'm really excited for this match because I think that we saw like a little taste of it in their match a couple of weeks ago, which earned Okada and Takeshita this opportunity. And I think that we only went at about 60-70% capacity. I think they'll go the full whack for this one now to pay-per-view. Brody have been an excellent breath of fresh air as a tag team. They complement each other surprisingly well, considering their different backgrounds and builds. But yeah, the whole story is building up to. I think it's pretty inevitable at this point. Now that we know, especially that after Takeshita won the title, he was challenged by Hiraki Goto before, and that will take place before Wrestle Kingdom. So I think, and also Yosuji's now the back to being the global champion, and you have Shota Umino is teaming up. He's in a tag team right now with
I wanted to share something with you. My daughter met someone on Roblox, and he ended up being a predator.
Oh no.
He got her to share so many private pictures that she would have never, ever done under normal circumstances. But he was convincing, and I felt so heartbroken as a mom. I felt like I failed her.
I am so sorry, but please don't feel guilty. These people are targeting kids everywhere. We were able to get legal help
with Yu Uemura, which means that they'll probably be more winning the World Tag League as opposed to fighting for the World Championship. So that leaves like this giant gaping hole for the world title, and I think it's pretty nailed on at this point, at least in my head canon, that it's going to be Okada versus Takeshita for the IWGP World Title in the main event of Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah.
So you need.
So they're not doing a Dynasty.
No. So
It came out tonight, or not today, but New Year Dash is back on January 5th. They're not doing Wrestle Dynasty.
do you think that's partly due to the fact that like the reason why they did Wrestle Dynasty when they did it is because it took place at a weekend?
It's very possible.
So
But
they
I
might
also
still be doing
think,
it, but they might do it later.
right, like, I think doing it back to back didn't work out as well as people thought it might. It was a fun experiment. I think you could always do it again, but I'm not sure you need to.
I definitely wouldn't do it in as big a stadium because I think that they definitely burn out the crowd with the first show. I mean, New Japan is already having a difficult enough time selling tickets to shows as it is. So I think if you are going to do another Dynasty event, then I would do it at a smaller, still sizable, but smaller arena at some point. But I think that, yeah, but I think that in this case, you're probably more likely to see more AEW talent, or at least a handful of AEW talent, or I guess in Takeshi's case, he is AEW, New Japan, and DDT talent on the show in some capacity. So I think that I just don't see any other way they can make a match that is going to attract a big enough crowd, unless they just give it to Tanahashi. But even then, we all know it's Tanahashi's last match anyway, so does making for the world title, does that make it any more of a draw than what it already is?
Right.
So, but back to the tag match itself. I guess the more interesting question is who's the one that takes the pin if Okada and Takeshita lose.
I think it's still Takeshita.
See, I would go with Okada for no other reason because like you want to build Takeshita. Takeshita eventually should be the one who's breaking out from Kaz family, going babyface and doing all that cool stuff. And I think that if you have Okada lose, it doesn't. I don't think it deflates his aura too much, especially if it's due to some kind of miscommunication between the two of them. I think that, but it makes Okada more angry than it would to make Takeshita upset. I think. And I think then that's the real kind of driving force of Okada trying to force his way around and getting in Takeshita's face and leading to the change. I mean, either way, it can work. And then there's also the possibility they just become tag team champions for a little while, and they're tag team champions for like a month before passing it off to like Jurassic Express or Jet Speed or some other thing like that. When you can do this communication, or they use it in some kind of triple threat tag match where they don't have to take pinfall.
I think there's a real thing to be said that the Don Callis family is so obnoxious right now that adding more belts would only add to that perception, and it could work for them. But I think people really like Brodito, and I don't know if you take away from Brodito, but at the same time, Frenemy, Okada, and Takeshita having some tag team bangers for like a month and a half ain't the worst idea either. And AEW, look, it's time to just say it. AEW roster is so stacked that they can afford to trade these belts around without having to have a discussion of, oh, they mean less now. No, they don't. They mean more because look how stacked your roster is.
And also, who can kind of resist the potential of having Takeshita and Okada in your tag team wrestling lineage, like that championship lineage?
Definitely a wrestling fan like Tony Khan. No, I don't think he would.
So I'm actually looking forward to it because like there is real jeopardy in this one. I think that even though I would go Brodito, I know you're going with Brodito, I think Tony's also going with Brodito as well. It's definitely not a 90-10% thing. This is definitely like 55, 45, 60, 40 type thing. Like there is a very real possibility that Okada and Takeshita win this for Don Callis family.
And I would make the argument that even though I'm going Brodito, the more interesting option is Brodito loses.
So definitely keep an eye on that one then. Talking of the Don Callis family, let's switch over to the TNT Championship. Carl Fletcher versus Mark Briscoe. Interesting match because Briscoe's fresh off that big victory over MJF at All Out. Carl Fletcher has been doing some good work with the TNT Championship. Kind of like his more exciting work recently was challenging for the world title at All Out, but he's still been doing things with the TNT Championship. He's been defending it regularly on like Collision and Dynamite. Had a good defense against Orange Cassidy a little while ago. So I think that the match itself should be really good because Fletcher is just like you can't miss with Fletcher right now. I think he's one of the most consistent guys in wrestling right now in terms of just high quality matches. It's like him, Ospreay, Io Sky, that kind of level of just like every match is going to be good to great. And Briscoe can always deliver as well. Briscoe's a very good sympathetic babyface as we all know. And I think this one is much more likely that Fletcher wins because I just don't think that it's. I think he's someone who still needs to be protected a bit more right now, but it's definitely not out of the question that Mark Briscoe wins the title. It's one of those ones again, which is I'm definitely way more leaning towards Fletcher than I am with like Brodito say, but I think that you could put the title to Briscoe and have them trade it for a little while.
I would make the argument from a pure show perspective that Mark Briscoe should win here. You have a chance for a real feel-good moment that you don't really have elsewhere on this card by putting the belt on Briscoe. And I'd also make the argument of, listen, AEW, if you go to an AEW show, the benefit is you're going to see a fun show, period. But I'd also say that if you want to create memories and moments, like this is the one. This is Briscoe has been chasing a singles championship in this company, and I think you could have him win here, and it just sort of be a good moment. And you don't have to think too hard about, oh, yeah, are you taking away from Fletcher? Because I don't think you are, because everybody knows that Fletcher's already knocking on the door of the World Championship. Not saying he's going to win it soon, but he's already knocking at that door. So I think I would say that while I think Kyle's going to win, I think Mark Briscoe should win.
I think there's definitely an argument to be made that you should be giving Briscoe a big victory. I think that my kind of argument against it would be that you are trying to establish the Don Callis family as like the big bad faction they'll probably overtake the Death Riders eventually once they are fully away from that storyline. So if you are also already having, for argument's sake, let's say Takeshi and Okada lose the match for the tag titles, and then you also have Fletcher lose his title, then the Don Callis family starts to look a little bit, not weaker in comparison, but I feel like for a lot of their big matches right now, their big title defenses, their big pay-per-view matches, they should be winning the majority of these because, yeah, you can have like Rocky Romero or Lance Archer or Trent lose as often as you like on like Collision or Dynamite or on like pre-shows to the pay-per-views, but I just don't think you should be having many of your big players in the Don Callis family lose that often. So I would say that I would if it was up to me, I would go with Fletcher retaining here, but still keep Briscoe simmering in the background, especially leading into the Continental Classic in the near future. But I think for right now, you still keep the title on Fletcher.
Looking to reconnect? Make every night a date night with ED treatments from Rex MD. Trusted treatments for better nights. Get started today for up to 95% off at rexmd.com/95.
Style and substance in the GMC Sierra. Or get this low mileage lease on this Sierra Elevation for around $499 per month.
I agree. I think there's plenty of reasons to keep the title on Fletcher. I just think that there's also there's something to be said for the show is missing a real feel-good moment, and I don't think it's in the main event, where I think somebody might die.
Well, yeah, we'll get to that main event soon, but let's talk about the semi-main event, even though it could be the main event, depending on what they decide to do.
This is a toss-up, but I wouldn't put the world title on in the main event in this case, given what the other match announced is.
We'll talk about the world title match, because the match that has probably less intrigue going into it, which is obviously surprising for the world title, but it's Hangman Page defending against Mojo. I think that we've already discussed this in like bits and pieces about how it's definitely one of those placeholder feuds for Hangman Page in between like finding the next big rivalry for him in his title reign. And Mojo has been in this position before. He's former world champion. He's someone that you can just flick a switch and he's a main eventer, or flick switch back and he can just be in trios division or a tag team or in a mentor role, veteran or whatever. But then you just like say, okay, it's time we need to the world title, and he just fits in like a glove. And he's already doing his best to, I don't say taking on the heel role, but taking on like a pseudo heel role of questioning like Page's champion status and saying that the only reason he's champion is because the Ops have been having his back the whole way through, and he's going to prove that he is the man and that Page isn't the champion that he says he is. And yeah, I think that they've been, it's one of those ones which is it's clearly fostered an degree of respect, and it's definitely a short-term thing that Page is going to win and get through. But first of all, I'm looking forward to the match because these two are great, but I think that they're doing a good job with the tools at their disposal.
I agree. I think Joe is such a great champion. And it's weird, like he's in a moment right now where his class is kind of having a bit of shine. Like AJ got spotlight over in WWE. You've seen, a few tributes to the Daniels and Bad of the World, and Joe's still competing at a high level as well. And I think he's just here to give Hangman a strong win. And I say this respectfully, and maybe you agree, maybe you don't. This just feels like a very WWE setup for a match, where it's just like, oh shit, we got Wrestledream coming in 3 weeks, we need a match. You two, you can't coexist. You're the next match of the pay-per-view. And there's not the same like care that would have been put into the feud if it was back in the days of the quarterly pay-per-views. But I'm still looking forward to it. I think Hangman will get a strong win over Joe. I think there's also a possibility, and I'm not just saying this because it's Hangman, I'm saying this because Joe can kind of take Hangman into deep water. What if this goes an hour? What if this goes Broadway? Joe's done it before, Hangman's done it before. They would be a great pair to do it with. I could see a situation where this goes deep, and this is more about having a strong match rather than having a good story.
See, I do agree that there's a possibility, or at least like they could go the hour if the need came through. I think if that's the case, then this has to main event. I don't think you do an hour-long match and then do like a murder fest afterwards. I think that you risk burning out the crowd a little bit, especially because Joe is a lot more methodical. Like, he has like his bursts, but he isn't, especially at his current like age and build. I don't think that he can do a hour-long match in the same sort of dynamism that an Omega or a Danielson can do. Not saying he can't do it, but I think that it's less likely. I think that you'll go with. I think this is more going to be your 20 minutes, like really, really not sort of fast paced, but let's just do like the big stuff to each other fairly quickly, and we will just have a more standard match. Like give Page the strong victory. I don't think they're going to. I wouldn't like end in a draw. I think you need to. This run or this title reign needs to establish Page as the top guy in AEW. I think he's already done a very good job with that so far, but I think you need to continue that and having him draw with, admittedly, a guy that is a main event level talent and someone who is seen as a legend, right so, in the business. But I think having him not defeat him sets it back a little bit in that trajectory. So I would, yeah. So as I say, I'd be totally fine with them going along because I think that they are both really good and would have a great match. If it went, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, they could make it turn into a really great match. But I think that because they haven't put a lot of emphasis on this one, and it does very much just feel like, your standard like placeholder one. That this, if they in the era where they were doing the quarterly pay-per-views, this would be, a Winter is Coming match on TV instead. So I think that we kind of need to take it with those sort of visions. Like, okay, this isn't like your blockbuster main event title feud, but it's a good match with a good challenger for the champion, and they'll have a fun match. We'll enjoy it, and we'll move on to whoever's next for Hangman. So that's my perspective anyway.
Yeah, I agree. I also was really of the belief that this should have been held at Title Tuesday, and not just because I was there, but like I think, like you just said, if there's an era not that long ago where this would have just been a Title Tuesday match, and now it's shifting more towards that traditional wrestling, we just gotta get to the next monthly pay-per-view kind of thing.
Yeah. We'll see what's next Page after this one. But I definitely don't think that Joe is winning the title here, so we'll go Page.
I will go with Page as well.
Yeah, and Tony's also predicting Page in his layout as well. So let's get to the other potential choice for the main event, which is Darby Allin versus Jon Moxley in the I Quit match. So, okay, so this is Murder Time.
Yeah,
Murder Clock.
So I was at the venue where a man theoretically tried to light a Molotov cocktail, and like, where do you go from a Molotov cocktail?
So the thematic thing with this feud, this feud's been going on for a long time, and we've seen these two like go the extra mile in terms of beating the shit out of each other with like crazy different ways of doing it. Like in their coffee match at All Out, we saw Darby and Mox go like really like crazy with some of the violence they're inflicting on each other, and even go back to the Forbidden Door cage match as well. But the main thing going into this IQ match in particular is fire, because there was fire. Like Allin set fire to the body bag after he lost the match at All Out. Then we've had the Molotov cocktail, and we've had other aspects that basically lead to the presumption that someone is getting set fire to in this match in some form of capacity. I think there's a very real possibility that one of the ways this match ends is one of them is tied up in the turnbuckle corner, and then they set fire to the bottom of their feet or their tights or pants or whatever, and then the flames start licking up at them, and they have to quit before they get burned alive, essentially. So that's the point where this has got to, where I'm expecting this match to end in potential immolation.
And look, if someone wants to criticize AEW for the sentence that literally just came out of your mouth, there's a part of me that understands, because that's an insane sentence when you're just watching professional wrestling.
This is not for everyone, and it's not like a case like the JF. It's not like, no, some people just don't want to watch people like attempt murder.
Play with fire. Like, yeah,
yeah.
It's not what everyone's after. However, for the people who do want it, they're gonna live it.
Oh, and I want it. Yeah, I want it.
Yeah, like this is what they're waiting for. My issue is I kind of don't want to see either man quit. Because I kind of think we just had that moment with Mox.
Yeah, the cage match, yeah.
Yeah, where he like literally was a coward and like panicking and immediately tapping out. Like we just had that moment. He didn't say the words "I quit," but almost in that way, I almost feel like this was, you can make the argument that this was actually Darby's title to win, where Paige won, or maybe this is Paige's "I quit" match that he's having with Mox. But I think Mox is going to be set on fire and forced to quit. And I know we've all learned better than to say Mox could take a break, but after you're set on fire and made to quit, don't you take a break? Like maybe.
It's about to be a wild ride, baby. Let's go.
Maybe a little break for John.
Maybe. I think that would be the route you go with if Moxley were to lose this match, which he probably should do because he beat Allin in the coffin match, and so it would make sense for him to lose this one. I think that if you are having him quit, I think he needs to go away for a while, because you keep Death Riders humming in the background with Claudio and Marina being the de facto leaders, or Pac being the de facto leaders, and still getting all this stuff involved before Moxley makes a triumphant return to set them back in the right direction. So they can take a bit of a backseat in the kind of heel pecking order behind Don Callis' family as they rise up the ranks towards top main event team. But I think that what you necessarily have to do is I think if he is to lose, then he needs to go away for a while, or I think even if Allin loses, he has to go away for a while as well, because this feels like the feud ender, where it feels like this is the pivotal turning point in the feud, whereas the coffee match had elements of it, but you could understand if Allin was to lose that match, it would still continue going into this one. This one feels like you can't stretch it out any further. This is it. This is an I quit match. This is one person basically submitting beyond just tapping out to each other. This is like one of them saying, "You're better than me. I can't take this anymore. I can't take the pain. Like I give up." And so I think that's something that would be difficult for either of them to come back to straight away. So I think that's why I think Allin's going to win, because Allin's been only recently come back, and you have Allin get the victory. He can catapult that momentum into, feel like he's done with Death Riders, catapult that momentum into Continental Classic or title opportunities, whatever he plans on doing. Whereas Moxley can go away for a little while, can take a few months off, and then come back feeling reinvigorated. Whether that is still with Death Riders with a different purpose or attitude to him, or that he's there to disband Death Riders, go back to being a babyface, whatever route they plan on taking with him. I think now's the time to make that transition point, and you can only do that with Allin getting the victory.
I really it's so strange. I think I quit is a step, because for their characters, to me, I feel like it's a step too far for either. Like it's a turning point in their career if they're made to quit. And I do think it has to be Darby going over, though, because Mox has already shown that he can surrender, and I just don't know how it ends. And I expect like the ending of that. You ever see that famous Sting Vampiro thing where he's supposed to get set on fire, but you can see the sun? I get that, but I expect to be a real person getting set on fire and then tossed off some kind of balcony. Like that's just what these men are capable of doing, and that's what they've shown, a niche for in the past. And I think Allin has to win. And if no one gets set on fire, is it almost a bait and switch?
Yeah, I think that could be the way that they potentially go about it if they decide to end it outside of the ring, which is because they have teased also moments where Allin's threatened to throw Moxley off the balcony and stuff along those lines. So I can definitely see an instance where Moxley quits because Allin's about to throw him off the balcony, and then Allin decides to just throw him off the balcony even though he quit, and that takes Moxley out of action for a while.
I think that's where we're going.
Yeah. But where does the fire come into it? Where's the fire in that scenario? Unless he's on fire, he falls through that fire.
If there's a close enough body of water, and you set him on fire and then throw him into said body of water.
So I think that I think that Allin gets the victory here, so he gets to finally draw the line on this one. I think we're all going for Allin. Like you are, Tony's going for Allin as well.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely Darby.
But at the very least, it should be quite the spectacle, and should involve maybe at least one instance of hands going over the eyes. There has been at least one instance in the last couple of pay-per-views for AEW where I have had to put my hands over my eyes because I couldn't believe what I was seeing in a gore kind of fashion.
I agree, and I think we're in for a relatively violent free night because we know that we're going to go overboard once we get to this match.
So those are our predictions for Wrestledream, which is taking place this weekend. So we'll be back for maybe some iteration of the post-show. It won't be a live post-show because of Tony's unavailability over in Brazil. But we might pull things together to do like a recording in the day or so after the event. So stay tuned for that, and also another edition of the Hot Tags going this week, also to be hosted by me and Rob, hopefully. We weren't able to do so last week because of some technical issues, but we should be, if this has all gone well, we should be fit and firing for the next edition. So in the meantime, if you have liked what you've heard here and you want to give us your support, you can obviously like the video and subscribe to us on YouTube or through any other podcast format you listen to us. And drop a comment below, of course. That always helps feed the algorithm, gets this podcast shown to more people to just get your thoughts and feelings about this upcoming show and what you're anticipating to happen at the event. And then you can also help us out monetarily through the Patreon or through the YouTube membership to spot us with like a couple of bucks a month or however much you want to spot us, get access to like Darkcast episodes and any other things as well. Pick your poison tier at the $50 level. Any amount of money is obviously greatly appreciated, and yeah, it's a good way to support us and get access to some bonus content. There's also the Redbubble and TeePublic, where you can buy some Smarkoutmoment branded merchandise, and you can also just follow us along through things like through social media, through supporting Fanboys Anonymous, joining us on the Discord. Any single way you can do to help keep the conversations going and just to support our work and show us you're enjoying what we're putting out there is just, yeah, there's many different avenues you can do so. And you can also follow Rob wherever Rob is.
Yep, you can follow me at DudeFelice on the social medias, and check out everything under Mango Tree because I'm always there. Check out Fightful.com as well, and I will be here on Friday for the hot tags.
Yep, and you can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky Week 14. Check out the power rankings every single Saturday over on Smarkoutmoment.com, where I rank the WWE superstars based on their previous week's performances. And also follow the Fantasy League, which has had a bit of an update after Tony won yet another predictions contest for his for the Crown Jewel show, and he's also made a couple of tweaks to his team as well. I think he dropped Asuka to pick up Solo Sikoa, so follow that stuff along as well. I think in the meantime I've also I believe I picked up someone. Can't remember the name off the top of my head. That shows how I'm kind of like checked out. In a way, I'm still running it because like there's always the chance that Tony's so far ahead that it's becoming a little bit redundant at this point. It's very much about second place.
Is it really? That's unfortunate.
I'll put it this way: he is nearly our scores combined at this point. So yeah, so it would take some monumental effort or some people on our teams to it would take Bianca Belair maybe showing up, help my team get the victory at some point, because that has been potentially the worst pick I've ever made in a fantasy league is Bianca Belair, because I assume broken fingers wouldn't take 6 months to recover from, but apparently
also Talon's trade was Finn Balor for Jacob Fatu.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So but yeah,
maybe amazing because he traded an active champion for Jacob Fatu, but he probably made the right call. This has been a weird year WWE-wise for injuries and stuff. I mean, we'll talk about on hot tags. It looks like he might be out. Maybe that helps us a little bit. Tony has that, right? Maybe we get some big wins because Tony has that.
Yeah, depends on if he plans on dropping him and if so for who. But yeah, you can follow along all the developments of the Fantasy League at www.fantasyleague.com or find it through Smarkoutmoment to check all that stuff out. And yeah, of course, just follow everything that Tony is doing as well through his writings and all the stuff under Mango Tree, as Rob mentioned earlier. That is going to do us in for another edition of the pay-per-view predictions for Wrestledream, and thank you very much for listening. But for now, this has been another Smarkoutmoment, and we are being counted out.
5, 2,